Hello! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another tier ranking video. We've already done loads of these, but now I guess I decided to do a mini-series for every single country in the World Cup, going over every position. I decided to start off with defenders, which was already a pretty tough task, and now I'm going to be moving on to goalkeepers. Maybe a little bit more straightforward, but still, there's obviously many ways you can go on about grading this list, but for me personally, my main priority was to see if there was a very good option for each country starting goalkeeper. But obviously depth in the position is a decent factor as well, because let's face it, who knows if all of these starting keepers mentioned in this video will be fully fit. But the main priority is that they do have one very solid starting option. That's the base, and then the depth is just, I guess, an addition. So let's get into it. Starting off, you know what, we always start off with Group A. Let's go backwards this time, starting off with Group H. So first country we're looking at is Portugal. Now, Portugal is obviously a phenomenal team on paper. There's no denying that. I've talked about it in loads of videos already. But is the goalkeeper position really one to show off for? Well, they still have very decent options, actually. Someone they've usually been going to, Rui Patricio, has just won the Conference League with Roma. And he's been around for some time. We obviously cannot forget about his Euro 2016 success with Portugal. But recently in these World Cup qualifier playoffs, Portugal have been using Diogo Costa from Porto, who was actually insanely impressive this year. So we'll see who ends up starting. He got 15 clean sheets in the Portuguese league while being in the starting 11 for majority of the season. He obviously kept Portugal in the match against Turkey in a few occurrences, so we'll see which of these great options Santos decides to select as a designated starter. The goalkeeping position might not be Portugal's strongest position to show off for, but there's no denying that they still have some amazing talent there. Also, we didn't even mention Lopez from Lyon. Decent quality, loads of depth. I think Portugal deserve an A. Let's move on to the next team in this group, Uruguay. This one's actually pretty tricky. It used to be more straightforward in the past, but in recent times, I don't know. The main man for Uruguay is Muslera, who was a very reliable option over time, but might not be the same beast he once was. Sergio Rochet has been making some recent appearances though, and is actually doing great this season in his domestic league. He's got 8 clean sheets in 13 appearances so far. Although that's very impressive, I might need to see how he can cope against other teams in the world internationally. But yeah, going back to the old and quote-unquote reliable choice, Muslera, the club he's been representing for so long, Galatasaray, in the Turkish league have really been struggling this season. They definitely should have been doing better, but at the same time, he hasn't been starting in every single one of their matches, most of them, but still missed out on a decent amount, so you can't really point all the fingers at him. And with these struggles, he still managed to get 8 clean sheets this season. It's a hard one to evaluate, as I probably would have given this one a higher ranking in the past. So for this video, I'm going to give Uruguay a B. I still think they deserve some credit for sure, but I don't think they're at the top for A or S. Now for South Korea. Most of their options currently play domestically, but the one man that they usually start currently plays in Japan, and he goes by the name Kim Seong-ju. So far this season, he has 5 clean sheets and 13 appearances, which isn't bad. This might be a common argument for this video, but despite him having some great moments in his career, I don't know if he necessarily ranks compared to the other teams on paper. I might have to be brutal to Korea, although I don't want to be. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to give Korea a D for this video. And also, disclaimer, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Obviously, there's a massive chance these goalkeepers can prove me wrong if I put them at the bottom. There always just seems to be that one goalkeeper that shines in the World Cup when no one really expects them to. So, I hope it's this guy. I really do. Good luck, Korea. But for this video, overlooking your team, your goalkeeping position, I don't think is the strongest. I'm giving Korea a D for now. You could argue a C. This guy did have some brilliant moments in his career, like I said, but just my personal opinion. Now for Ghana. Oh man, you guys are going to hate me for this. I'm sorry. I ranked you guys so low in the defense video, and to be honest, overlooking that, maybe I was too cruel on you guys. I mean, I totally forgot about Salisu on Southampton. He's a beast. But looking at the goalkeepers, I'm not saying this is the main starter, but he is one of the players in the squad. Do we really have the confidence in the likes of Atizigi, who has conceded 63 goals this season? Or Afori, who, don't get me wrong, isn't a bad player. They've also been starting Jojo Wolacott, who plays in the 4th division of English football. And don't get me wrong, he held his ground very well in the World Cup qualifier playoffs against Nigeria. where he didn't concede much. They won on away goals. Very impressive. But are we really going to give them the benefit of the doubt now? Honestly, I'm just not too impressed with Ghana's selection of goalkeepers. I don't mean any hate by this, Ghana. I really don't. And I probably will give you guys higher rankings in the future videos for sure. But goalkeeping isn't the strong suit. I'm giving Ghana a D. I might regret now starting with Group H. I clearly am not off to a good start. Nobody's in the S category yet. Portugal A is still a great ranking, obviously, but 2 Ds already. Well, let's keep going. Moving on to Group G now. Starting off with Brazil. Brazil, their goalkeeping selection is excellent. Not only do they have the depth, they have some of the best quality. Come on. They've got 2 players playing for the best clubs in the Premier League right now. Yes, Manchester City and Liverpool are absolutely dominating the Premier League recently. Alisson and Ederson have been proving their class for these clubs. Not only they're competing at club level, now they got to compete to see who starts internationally. Obviously, their teammates, they want the best, but the fact that Brazil have this insane depth is nuts. Any team would be thankful to just have one of them. And with that being said, you gotta give Brazil an S. There's just no question about it. Definitely one of the best situated teams in terms of the goalkeeping position. Now for Serbia. It's not the strongest part of the team, but they still have some solid options. Rajkovic, Dimitrovic, and the brother of Milinkovic-Savic. Rajkovic as of now is the designated starter for the team. And overall in his career, he's been proven to be a boss. Some seasons are way better than others, don't get me wrong. He was one of the best keepers in Ligue 1 a few years back. And back in the day, I believe he was nominated as the best goalkeeper in the U20 World Cup. Obviously, that was some time ago, but it's a marvelous achievement. This guy might not be recognized for many, as he's playing for a mid-table Ligue 1 team, but definitely watch out for him this year. He's still a very solid option. And then along with that other depth Serbia have, if he's somehow injured, I think they'll still possibly pull through with Dimitrovic or Milinkovic-Savic. I'm going to say Serbia deserve a B ranking. Now for Switzerland, the main man has to be Sommer. He was incredible at Euro 2020, being able to hold off against France and winning the match on penalties, and then holding off to Spain all the way on penalties. He was obviously a huge contributor as well to Switzerland automatically qualifying for the World Cup. At club level though, he did concede 60 goals this season with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Regardless though, you can still point out to defensive issues. It's not always the keeper's fault. And there's just something with the Swiss team, no matter how shaky the individual players can be for their club, when they come together internationally, they prove to be the most underrated team in Europe. And I think Sommer is just such a key part to this team. Switzerland also definitely have depth, as they might even utilize Kobel, who had incredible moments for Dortmund this season. I gotta give Switzerland an A for this video. Now for Cameroon. Onana has been fantastic for club and country. Unfortunately, he had a bit of delay with his career success with that whole doping violation issue. He was banned from the Ajax squad for 1 year. You can't forget about that legendary Champions League run Ajax had some years ago. He was a crucial part to that, and there were some big transfer rumors revolving him. None of them came true, and I'm sure that doping ban took a huge part, but gotta give this guy credit. Still, definitely a class keeper, and I'm giving Cameroon an A for this video. Now let's move on to Group F, starting off with Belgium. Obviously, this side will be very much hoping that Courtois is fit for the World Cup. He is by far their best option. He has been one of the best goalkeepers this season. Look, he did struggle when he first signed for Madrid, yes, but he just kept getting better and better after every single year. Now, world class yet again. He has been such a crucial part to winning La Liga with Real Madrid and now being in the Champions League final. Well, I did record this before the Champions League final. And yeah, Courtois is obviously a freak of nature. I mean, I'm genuinely worried about how Croatia will do against Belgium now. But yeah, I was gonna put him in S regardless, but I just feel like I had to throw that out there because his Champions League final match, I mean, that was one of the best goalkeeping performances we've seen in a Champions League final. So S for Belgium, without a doubt, is the choice for me. Now taking a look at Canada. In my opinion, their goalkeeper is actually very underrated. Milan Borjan, Crvena Zvezda's designated choice. Along with being Canada's top choice, he has been tremendous in the World Cup qualifiers. And obviously won the Serbian League with Crvena Zvezda. This guy had a lot of success this year. In 23 appearances in the Serbian League, he got 13 clean sheets and only conceded 11 goals. Fantastic option Canada have there, and I'm very curious to see how he'll do against these very difficult teams in this group. I don't want to rate Canada too highly, although they shouldn't be low by any means. I think they really have a solid keeper choice right there. Milan Borjan brings Canada, in my opinion, to a B. Now looking at Morocco. Sevilla's main choice, Bono, has had a phenomenal season this year. He was regarded the best goalkeeper in La Liga this season, winning the Zamora Trophy, which is absolutely crazy as he also topped Courtois. He only conceded 24 goals in 31 matches, getting 13 clean sheets, conceding 0.77 goals per match, and this one's definitely up for interpretation because look, he did beat Courtois to get that Zamora Trophy, but Courtois has been doing it for years. Bono, obviously, is a fantastic option, but we don't see him do this every single year continuously. But still, you gotta give this guy some credit. I'm gonna be giving Morocco an S for a video. Maybe generous, but you know what? The teams in this group gotta fear this keeper. If he stays in this kind of form, he's definitely could end up winning the Golden Glove. Who knows? Who knows? Now for Croatia. Hrvatska. We did have a decent goalkeeper back in the day, didn't we? Subasic was absolutely crucial to our World Cup success in 2018. But now he's gone. And Zlatko Dalic has got to decide who he's going to take. Either Livakovic, who he's been starting normally, but he's also now been giving Grbić the chance to shine. Livakovic currently playing in Dinamo Zagreb, and he's got 19 clean sheets in the Croatian league and only conceded 21 goals in 34 appearances. He did have a rough patch this season, but he seemed to regain his confidence. Those are solid numbers. But during that rough patch, that's when Dalic decided to experiment with Ivo Grbić, who played for Lille this season. This lad didn't necessarily always start for the French club, just over half of the matches throughout the season in Ligue 1. And to be honest, he did concede a fair amount of goals in that ratio of the matches he started in, while only grabbing 2 clean sheets. If we were to maybe grade this during Livakovic's rough patch, we'd probably be giving Croatia a lower ranking in this video. But if he's selected to start, I do have faith in him to produce the results this time around. He has had some costly mistakes, yes, but he's a fearless man inside the box. I gotta give Croatia a B for this video. Maybe some people will say C, but don't sleep on Livakovic just yet. Now moving on to Group B, starting off with Germany. I don't think I need to be too elaborate here, do I? I mean, Manuel Neuer. This guy has been regarded the best keeper of this generation for so long now. Yes, he might not be at his prime anymore, but whenever he's fully fit, he proves his worth. And he's been so good over the years that he hasn't been letting other keepers really get to shine for the national team. Class and depth in this position. Germany are definitely in safe hands for options in between the sticks. I am definitely giving this country an S for this video. Now taking a look at Spain, there's obviously lots of dilemma on who will start, as Enrique did not select De Gea for the Euros. He decided to take Unai Simon instead. Yes, Manchester United did struggle very much this season, but De Gea was one of the few players still pulling his weight. When you compare Simon with De Gea, Simon had 31 goals conceded and 12 clean sheets, while De Gea had 57 goals conceded and 8 clean sheets. But yeah, like I said, it's a bit hard to judge those numbers because Manchester United's defense was all over the place. De Gea back in the day was regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Is he now? The fact that I'm not sure what Enrique is going to do and decide who he's going to start and how we'll see De Gea perform in the first half of the season before the World Cup begins, I'm going to be giving Spain an A. Maybe back in the day we would have said S for sure, but maybe they have a bit more quality compared to the likes of Portugal, Switzerland, Cameroon, but I just don't know if De Gea is necessarily the likes of S material anymore, even though he was still pulling his weight for United, obviously. Even when he pulls his weight, sometimes he can make some clumsy mistakes. Now for Costa Rica, the individual, Keylor Navas is highly regarded by many. I mean, when people think of Costa Rican players, no one does not think of Keylor Navas first.
Keylor Navas! Yeah!
Although he's highly regarded by many, maybe the clubs he's been representing recently, you know, did him a bit dirty. Won the Champions League with Real Madrid so many times, and still they ended up replacing him with Courtois. He went to PSG, was a starter there, made it all the way to the Champions League final, and now they brought in Donnarumma. This guy is securing the bag, so I can't necessarily feel too bad for him, but you get the point. Maybe the clubs will forget about him, but the fans won't. This guy has been incredible within this past decade. Ever since that 2014 CONCACAF fairy tale Costa Rica produced in the World Cup. After that tournament is when he got signed for Real Madrid, where he wasn't even a starter there, but began to shine after Casillas' exit. Costa Rica, for me, is an easy S. Easy. We'll see if they end up qualifying for the World Cup. I'm obviously recording this video a bit early. But yeah, like the other videos, I am including the teams that have not yet qualified for the World Cup that are still in contention to do so. But with that being said, let me get back to the teams that have already qualified before I go to New Zealand. I got carried away with the amazing Costa Rican option. Let's go to Japan. A lot of their goalkeepers are aging. I mean, Kawashima plays in the French league, yes, but he's already 39. Japan have mostly been utilizing a domestic option, Gonda. To be honest though, from what I've seen the stats, it's a bit hard to rate him too highly. And along with that, it doesn't seem like Japan necessarily have a lot of quality depth. I love this side, and don't get me wrong, I really wish them the best. Prove me wrong, Gonda. Get all clean sheets in this World Cup, but goalkeeping, in my opinion, for Japan is not their strong suit. So I'm going to be giving Japan a D. And now let's move on to that other playoff team in this group, New Zealand. Yeah, maybe these lads do turn up internationally, but like I've said in other videos, it's hard to judge New Zealand as we've only really been seeing them recently play the Oceania teams. Their main choice, Stefan Marinovic, plays in Israel at the moment. He did concede a decent amount of goals for his club though, 42. There's also Oliver Sale, who's getting a bit more recognition, but the quality, it ain't enough. Sorry, New Zealand, you're getting a D. Now moving on to Group D, starting off with France. I'm giving France an S, and before you guys bash on me on this pick, let me explain myself a little bit. I'm assuming some of you might be thinking that Hugo Lloris is the main option for France, and although Deschamps might be ending up starting him, you definitely can't rule out their other option who has definitely been turning up recently, Magnan. I mean, last season he won the French league with Lille, and then he got a transfer to AC Milan where he was the replacement for Donnarumma. He was an incredible replacement. They finally won the Serie A after 11 years. He got 17 clean sheets in the league this season. He could definitely be taking over Hugo Lloris's role as the starting keeper, as Lloris has had a decent amount of sloppy occurrences recently. He's a great keeper with some great success. I mean, he still got 16 clean sheets this season, so it's not like he's absolutely washed. So it'll definitely be interesting to see who Deschamps ends up deciding to start. Regardless, so that's what gives France the S. This side is already regarded to be one of the most stacked nations in the World Cup. They just have so many phenomenal options in every position. With the addition of Magnan, the fact that they have that depth, the fact that they can choose between both of them, to me, is easy S material. We'll see if France ever get a ranking lower than S. Now for Denmark. This is a tricky one. I've already praised Kasper Schmeichel in my previous videos for sure, as he's arguably one of the best players in the squad. However, some do argue that he has been exposed this season. He's conceded 58 goals this season in the Prem, but you gotta cut him some slack. Leicester did have a decent amount of injuries this season. To me, Schmeichel is still an absolute hero in many moments for club and country. He's definitely a top player, but does he alone give Denmark an S quality? Yes, they obviously have some other decent options behind him, but in my opinion, as great as he is, I think he just falls short from the S category, and Denmark get an A. Now moving on to Tunisia. This country has mostly been utilizing Ben Said recently out of their domestic club player options, and he actually has great stats for his club. 13 clean sheets in 19 appearances. With all due respect though, this is the Tunisian league. And yes, he was able to keep clean sheets against Mali in both legs in the playoffs, but Mali only got one shot on target throughout both of the legs. Tunisia definitely deserves some recognition in this department though. I mean, those stats are fantastic, but it's a bit hard to praise them too much just yet. Really curious to see how they do against these top countries. Tunisia should still be very happy that they have a player like this though. I'm going to give Tunisia a C, and they still have some other great options in there as well, but I think Ben Said might be the best one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, now for those playoff teams that are not confirmed to be in the World Cup yet, but are still in contention. Starting off with Australia. One of the best players on paper for Australia happens to be their goalkeeper, Matthew Ryan. This is one of the few positions I think Australia should be fairly comfortable with in having a top quality goalkeeper like him. I think Australia deserve a B. Now for the United Arab Emirates. Their best keeper is Khalid Aissa, who, for many of these underrated countries with players playing domestically, he actually has some of the best stats. In 24 matches, he conceded 16 goals and got 12 clean sheets. Yes, this is a domestic league, but the UAE should be very hopeful with their player in between the sticks. We'll see if this side qualifies. It would be epic if they do, but I'm going to say the UAE deserve a C for this video. Similar situation in Tunisia, to be honest. Now for Peru. Peru's captain happens to actually be their goalkeeper, Pedro Galese, currently playing for Orlando City. So far this season in the MLS, half of the matches he played, he was able to secure a clean sheet. And clearly he has some great leadership ability if he was able to captain this Peruvian side to a World Cup playoff spot. South American World Cup qualifiers definitely aren't a joke. This guy might be overlooked since he plays in the MLS, but I think he deserves some praise. He deserves a B. With that leadership role, with him keeping his team alive in these South American World Cup qualifiers, Peru, to me, look like the favorites to qualify. We'll see how well that statement ages, but I think Peru deserve a B for this video. Now moving on to Group C, starting off with Argentina. This has become my staple intro for Argentina every time I talk about them. If this were 4 years ago, I would have been a lot more critical on Argentina. But now they got so many options to choose from. Think about it. Caballero was definitely not an ideal picking. And then Romero was definitely fading away. And now they have Martinez, who was such a crucial part to their Copa America success. He still continues to impress at moments in the Premier League as well. And there's still some other great options, such as Rulli from Villarreal. Yes, this guy didn't have the best display against Liverpool across both legs, but they still made it to the semifinals. At this current time, I think Argentina deserve an A. Now for Mexico. This guy somehow is always a beast for L3. Ochoa has just been in the scene for so long, hasn't he? His heroic efforts in previous tournaments like the 2014 World Cup were unforgettable. He's now 36 years old. This could maybe be his last World Cup, where he definitely will have all the energy in the world to keep Mexico's hopes and dreams alive, to just break that World Cup curse, get out of the group stage first, then get out of that round of 16s, make it to the quarterfinals. Regardless, though, he's one of the staple goalkeeper icons in the World Cup. And you know what, Mexico fans, let me know your thoughts about this pick in the comments, because I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys think. I can't go all the way at S, I'm sorry. I think Mexico do deserve a high ranking, though. I'm going to say they get an A from me. Now for Saudi Arabia. AAvfx is the main man. He has only gotten 1 clean sheet so far this season, though, but it also has only been 10 matches. From what I've seen, this guy seems to have very quick reflexes for sure, but I don't know if he's necessarily the best option to rely on. I have more faith in the Saudi defense coming through, though, to, you know, maybe give him some decent results here and there in terms of clean sheets and all that. We'll see. This is a tough group for Saudi Arabia for sure, but they can definitely impress since they're a neighboring country with the hosts. I still got to be cruel to Saudi Arabia and give them a D for this video. I definitely feel harsh giving them a D, but this keeper just does not seem like he can compete with the ranks of the others mentioned in this video so far. Saudi Arabia had a very impressive qualifier run, so this does seem like a bit of a rough pick, but I'm keeping it at the D ranking. Now for Poland. Poland's goalkeeper Szczesny is definitely a massive standout to the national team. Maybe not to the same degree as Lewandowski, but he's still definitely up there. Although this man has been high in the scene for some time now. I mean, he plays for Juventus. He does not seem to be as consistent as before, making a fair amount of mistakes that cost his team. With that being said, though, he's obviously had his fair share of heroic moments this season. If it weren't for those occasional clumsy efforts and he was a bit more of a consistent player, I might have put Poland all the way up there, but I'm going to have to be a little bit harsh to them. I'm going to give them an A for this video. I still feel like that's a very good ranking. And they obviously have a decent amount of depth. Unfortunately, they just lost Fabianski, who just retired for the national team. But they still got Dragowski and Gikiewicz. Now for England. It's a bit tricky to call for this one, as Southgate does have some decision-making to do. Pickford was a big part to the Euro success, yes. But he did just suffer a very close call of a relegation battle for Everton. I say suffer. They made it through. But yeah, they had that scare. And Everton definitely didn't have a season to show off for. But with that being said, Pickford wasn't necessarily one to always blame. And that being said, their other option, Pope, got relegated with Burnley, but that doesn't mean fingers were to be pointed at him. He still had a decent season. Both of those players are either falling short to the championship or just surviving, staying into the Premier League. We've also have seen Ramsdale just absolutely come out of nowhere and be a boss this season. He's also been getting call-ups for Southgate, so there is a lot of faith that he could potentially start for England. It's definitely hard to rate England in this video, such a powerful side, and some people might be heavily criticizing the goalkeeper positions with the likes of Pickford and Pope, but I think Ramsdale will boost this rating. I think if it weren't for that Ramsdale success, I would have put England lower, maybe at B, but because they got the depth still, and Ramsdale is proving his worth, I'm going to say England get in the A category. Now for the USA. People are probably not rating the USA too highly in this video after that Zach Steffen FA Cup tragedy. Yeah, that definitely didn't help his image, but let's not forget where he plays. Even if he's not his best form, Matt Turner from Arsenal is a great option. But yeah, when you look at both those players, they're backups for both of their clubs in the Premier League, but both very solid teams. Ethan Horvath has also really impressed me in the matches he's played for his country, being an absolute hero against Mexico in one of the recent international finals. USA have depth and options to choose. Some big decision making for Berhalter for sure, but I think the USA should be good. I know there's a few players I didn't even mention, so I'm going to give the USA a B ranking. Now for Iran. Team Melli on the surface might not have the greatest options on paper, but are we going to forget about 2018? Bieravant was probably the most exciting goalkeeper in the tournament, at least in the group stages. He kept Iran in the match every time. He saved the Ronaldo penalty. This guy was out of this world, and I really fell in love with his efforts at the World Cup, I gotta say. But now the Iranian national team have been utilizing Amir Abedzadeh, who is playing in the Spanish 2nd Division. He has also got a lot of Iranians excited this year, as he definitely helped Iran grab first in this group for the World Cup qualifiers that they were in. I think Iran definitely have a lot of underrated options, so whichever one of these lads ends up starting for the national team at the World Cup could definitely impress many neutrals yet again. This one, it really depends on how harsh you want to be. For me, it's either a B or a C, but I have high hopes for this position in Iran. I'm going to give them a B for this video. Maybe a bit of a generous pick, but I think it's justified. Now taking a look at those playoff teams, starting off with Scotland. Although they have heroic options, I don't think Scotland's choices are much to show off for on paper. In the Euro, Scotland gave Marshall a go, who I remember is the main man who stopped Serbia from qualifying for Euro 2020 after that penalty shootout. But now in the qualifiers, they turned to Craig Gordon, who's already 39 years old. I'm surprised they don't usually utilize McGregor from Rangers. He's been very good recently, obviously taking them to a Europa League final this season. With the keepers they end up choosing, they're definitely overlooked. Scotland, not always obviously, but many times they're able to keep some of these matches very close, even against the big teams. That being said though, on paper they're definitely weighed down. Bring McGregor in. I really would be curious to see how he does, but with who Scotland have been starting, I'm gonna say Scotland deserve a C. Now for Ukraine. I was definitely harsh on Ukrainians' defense, but I definitely think this side has good options in between the sticks. Georgi Bushchan, Dynamo Kiev's goalkeeper. Obviously, his season got interrupted with the war, but in 15 appearances, he got 8 clean sheets and only conceded 9 goals. His debut for the national team was actually not too long ago, in 2020 against France. As back in the day, they obviously relied on Piatov, but he has just been such a great replacement, honestly, in my opinion. For me, Ukraine deserve a B in this video. Let's see if they end up qualifying for the World Cup. Now for Wales. The two designated options are both backup keepers for their clubs in the Premier League. Hennessy on Burnley. Well, I guess he's in the championship now, but he sits behind Pope, but also Ward on Leicester City. These keepers are in tough situations because I feel like whenever I see them play, they show a lot of heart. On paper, though, the quality doesn't compare to the other teams. Yes, the USA also has 2 backup keepers in the Premier League, but look at the clubs they play for. That being said, also the USA does have a bit more depth. I'm going to say Wales deserve a C for this video. Not even terrible, to be honest. I just think it shouldn't be too high. And now the last group we're looking at, Group A. We normally start off with this group, but decided to change it up. Starting off with the hosts, Qatar. All their options obviously play domestically, so it's a bit hard to judge how well they'll do. However, with one of the most caps by a fine margin for the national team is Saad Al-Shib. And you know what? This guy only conceded 1 goal throughout the entire 2019 Asia Cup, where he won the Best Goalkeeper award in that tournament. He's honestly a great option for the national team. It just sucks to compare him to the likes of all these other keepers mentioned in this video on paper. I gotta give this lad some credit though. He'll be doing whatever he can to be motivated to pull through with his national team. I mean, they're the hosts after all. I will give the hosts a C. Now taking a look at Ecuador. Ecuador used to play Alexander Dominguez often, who plays for a Colombian club, but now they have been utilizing Galindez, who plays in Chile. Both are solid options, but Ecuador, man, I keep changing my opinion about this national team at the World Cup. Like I said before, their home record is great, but away, they don't seem to tactically gel well together in the World Cup qualifiers at least. Will they be able to get over that mental barrier and excel in this foreign country? There's so many underrated players in this squad, don't get me wrong, but I do think these goalkeepers might struggle if the defense doesn't come together. The Ecuadorian defense, though, I absolutely admire. There's so much young, exciting talent in this squad, but obviously it's not a bad shout to be a bit older as a goalkeeper. These goalkeepers are already in their mid-30s. It's hard to ignore Ecuador's valiant efforts in the World Cup, though. It might be a bit harsh of a ranking, I know, but I'm going to give Ecuador a C. I know I gave Peru a B, and it's also another team in the South America World Cup qualifiers. Peru was lower than Ecuador, I'm aware. But when you're looking at the goalkeeper in specific, I think Ecuador are just a tad bit lower than the likes of Peru. Now taking a look at Senegal, brief analysis. Look, they got Mendy, the main starter for Chelsea. He's won the award for best goalkeeper last season. He won the Africa Cup of Nations this year. Yes, this season things didn't go all to plan for Chelsea, as Benzema did end up clowning him in the UCL. They lost in the FA Cup final. Yes, he has had a few instances in the past where he was clumsy, but when you overlook those moments, you gotta realize how much he saved Chelsea's ass in the past. He's a top keeper. Senegal are blessed to have him, and if anything, he adds to the fact that Senegal are the best team in Africa on paper. I gotta give Senegal an S for this video. Maybe a bit steep, but I highly rate this guy Mendy. And the final team we're looking at, Netherlands. On the surface, many people might not think Netherlands have a lot of great players in this position, but they actually have some very decent options. Bijlo and Feyenoord, who might be one of the favorites, who recently returned from injury. He's only 23 years old. This lad has so much potential. You've got Silas Bizot, Krul, who randomly frustrated teams this season in the Premier League. Obviously, the actual defense might be a bit better on paper than the goalkeeping options, but Netherlands got the depth and very decent quality. I think without a doubt, they deserve an A for this video. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my final list. Let me know in the comments what you agree and disagree with. We've got a lot of exciting international matches coming up, so I'll be going over those. Guys, thank you all for making it to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. Lá com noite.